It was just the attitude. It was the way she approached it as a statement.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast.
Minisode.
And welcome back to the program. Dustin Harris hanging out with you for another mini-sode. I want to share with you a thought I had as I was coming in to work this morning. It's not a thought that is unusual. I have this reoccurring thought on a regular basis because it happens on a regular basis. First, I want to pause here, though, and remind you that we're sponsored by Spark. Spark, of course, is helping you with your data entry, making it easier for you. Go to spark4appraisers.com, spark4appraisers, that's plural.com. All right, folks, I want to talk to you, and specifically today, I'm talking mostly to those of you who are not appraisers, but might be employed by appraisers. But I also want to look at it from the employer standpoint as well. So stay tuned. But I want to shout out to those of you who are employed. Now, this, of course, is not specific to appraisers per se. The principle that I want to teach you today is about consideration. It's about loyalty. It's about understanding your position, if you will, with regard to employment. Now, I'm not going to get off on my tangent. My kids are fond about saying, well, that's a great story, Grandpa, when they're talking to me. Yes, my children say that once in a while. That's the kind of respect I get at my house. But when I tell a story that is similar to when I was young, life was tough, life was hard, they'll say, well, that's a great story, Grandpa, and then they'll move on throughout their day. I know. They'll move on throughout their day. But I want to share with you, I struggle sometimes with again, I don't want this to come off the way it's going to sound, but nonetheless, it's in my mind, so let's throw it out there. I struggle sometimes with, the Gen X, the millennials, again, it's not necessarily a generational thing, but it kind of does fit the persona. It kind of does fit the stereotypes. I was listening to a stand-up comedian the other day, and he said, stereotypes are funny because they're true. And so I guess there's some truth in this, but I struggle sometimes with the attitude of the younger generation, right? And part of me is inspired, right? I look at my son, for example, who is, 22 years old and doesn't really have a job. I love you, Dallin. Doesn't really have a job, but does fine. He does great. He bounces around. He does what he needs to make ends meet. He is a free spirit. He does not want to get tied down to any one thing. I admire that, right? I wish I was more like that when I was his age, right? Without necessarily having a job, if you will, but being a full-fledged entrepreneur. I'm much more like that now than I was at his age, so I admire that. However, I struggle sometimes with the attitude of some of the younger generation when it comes to work, when it comes to their jobs, when it comes to loyalty, when it comes to timing and everything else. And let me just cut to the chase. Let me be specific. This morning I was coming into work and I got a message, came across my phone that basically said, and I'm not going to obviously shout out names, but somebody said, I'm not going to be in to work today because of this. Now, I will admit that the reason that she's not coming into work is pretty darn good, okay? And I would have given her the day off anyway. I just didn't like the attitude. I just didn't like I'm not coming into work today. It was a statement rather than a question. Now, some of you might say, well, Dustin, did the thing that kept her from coming to work, would it have been a question? And honestly, folks, it doesn't matter to me. In other words, what I'm saying is even if there was absolutely no way for them to make it to work, okay, and that's not absolutely the truth on this one, she could have made it to work, but her reason for being home is pretty darn good. And it was a reason that I could have easily said, hey, I totally understand, no problem. It was just the attitude. It was the way she approached it as a statement. I'm not coming to work today, instead of, hey, here's what's going on in my life this morning. I am so sorry about this. Would it be possible for me to stay home today, to take a sick day to deal with this? To me, that makes all the difference in the world. You want to know what makes the difference to you and your time savings? And that is the ability to use technology. Folks, I've been teaching this forever. Use technology to help save you time, to help save you money. Spark is the answer to that. Folks, check them out. If you've not already, you need to find out if they are in your area. Go to spark4appraisers.com/MLS, spark4appraisers.com/MLS. If they are in your area, folks, what are you waiting for? This will save you at least a half hour on every single report that you do. It is absolutely crazy the good that this will do. Check them out, sparkforappraisers.com. One more time, sparkforappraisers.com. All right, folks, welcome back to the mini-sode. I have nothing more to say today other than, folks, if you work for someone, please understand that it makes a difference to an employer the way that you approach them. I've even gone so far as to do training in this on my staff meetings. Now, it was months ago, and to her credit, she was not involved in this training. She was not even employed at the time that I did this training. But there was a time in my staff meeting when we actually took about 10 to 15 minutes to explain and help people understand that from an employer's perspective, we count on you. We want you to be there. We need you to be there. Everything is set up for you to be there. Do we understand that sometimes you can't be there? Of course. Do we understand that you're human beings and that things come up? Absolutely. We understand all of that, and we are understanding people. But your attitude and the way that you approach work makes all the difference in the world. I think, knock on wood, I hope, that's me knocking on, well, it was drywall, but nonetheless, knock on wood, I hope that I've taught my kids properly. I hope. In fact, I was actually out with my son, my 15-year-old, the other day. And you don't need to know the details of the whole situation other than his mom reached out to him about something that she was trying to help him with, homework stuff. And she said, do you have time to do that now? And his attitude back, his text back to her, and I was on a group text with him, but I happened to be next to him. He said, I can't right now, I'm doing this with Dad. And I said, dude, read that text. He goes, what? What are you talking about? What? And I said, read the text. He goes, I was just telling her I'm doing something with you. I said, I understand. But Mom is trying to help you, right? And I'm just out playing with you. There's a difference, okay? And though I want you to stay here and recreate with me, that would be, I didn't use that term, but please recreate with me, son. Though I want you to stay here and be with me, right? Your mom is trying to help you, and you don't even understand what her schedule looks like. It's busy, trust me. I have to schedule time to go on a date with her, okay? She's busy. She's trying to help you. Read back through that text. Is there anything you could, what? I don't know. Dude, you need to put her needs above your own in this situation because she's trying to help you. And so he changed the text and he said, but if you want to do it right now, I would like to stay with Dad, blah, blah, blah. But if you would like to do it right now, I'll make time. You see the difference? Now, she wrote back graciously and said, thanks, bud. That's really nice of you to have that kind of an attitude. I really appreciate you putting importance into this. But no, stay with Dad, do your thing, and we'll do it again later on. Folks, that's what I'm talking about. Now, let me talk to employers for just a moment as we close up today. Employers, I believe there's a difference between these two types of employees. Now, am I going to fire this individual? Of course not. But do I chalk it up in my head as, that's interesting. That was an interesting way that she approached me. I'm not going to be in today because of this, rather than, hey, I am so sorry. This has come up. I will be willing to work the weekend to make things up. Is there any way I can take care of it? That, to me, makes all the difference in the world. And when layoffs come, and they sometimes do, I will keep those things in mind. Keep in mind our All-Star team, folks. Right now, we are being overwhelmed with new people joining the All-Star team. Why? Well, things are slow. It makes sense, right? You want help growing your business, especially your non-lender. That's where we're focused on right now. We would love to help you with that. Please check it out. Go to theappraisercoach.com/membership.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.